50 Cent just revealed why Diddy wasn't in the Epstein files. And once you connect the dots, the hidden videos and the testimonies all start to make sense. 50 Cent's new documentary is on the way, and this time he's going to expose some of the biggest names in Hollywood. Who was the real mastermind behind Epstein's private island, and exactly what was happening there? In this video, we're going to look at all the names, the connections, and why Diddy wasn't in the unredacted files.
One person who wasn't in the Epstein files was Diddy. And this person said the reason why Diddy wasn't in these files was because he was his competition. So I was like, man,
he was whose competition?
Epstein.
Oh,
Diddy was Epstein's competition.
No way.
Diddy wasn't at none of the Epstein parties or at the island.
That's crazy.
Just a week ago, the Department of Justice released more than 3 million pages of records, around 2,000 videos, and about 180,000 images from various investigations tied to Epstein. Most of these records had been heavily redacted, but the unredacted files showed Epstein being connected to some of the most powerful people in the world. One name that everyone was surprised to see missing was Sean Diddy Combs. Arrested almost a year ago and just as infamous as Epstein, Diddy was named as an abuser in over 100 different lawsuits with crimes just as horrifying as Epstein's. So how is it possible that two of the worst pedophiles in the world weren't connected? And just how weird it is, you need to remember that Diddy's best friend, Jay-Z, is named dozens of times in the Epstein files. And according to one of the files, Epstein was actually using Jay-Z to control the streets through entertainment. The CEO of Barclays tells Epstein that the reason there is no revolution against the pedophile elites is because the public has been pacified by bread and circuses like hip-hop culture. He concludes, the group that should be in the streets has been bought off by Jay-Z. This is just one of the times that Jay-Z was named. And it's wild that everyone around Diddy was regularly hanging out with Epstein, while Diddy, the mastermind behind the worst abuse the entertainment industry ever saw, just wasn't there. According to some sources online, this is because Diddy's name hasn't been redacted yet. Some of the files mention Jay-Z and Epstein meeting with a third redacted person in the room. The same redaction across multiple files suggests that it's the same person. And once you connect the dots, the story makes sense.
Now, this is a tip back in 2009 that was sent to the FBI that references Jay-Z, Harvey Weinstein, and Pusha T. It says, on July 10th of 2019 at 8:20 a.m. Eastern Time, someone called the FBI National Threat Operations Center to identify herself as a victim of abuse by Jeffrey Epstein and others. This person said in approximately 1994, she revealed herself as a past victim of abuse by Epstein. She described the abuse that occurred during parties, and she also described someone as a friend of someone. In approximately 1996, she revealed that she resided with someone somewhere. An unknown man abducted someone from her home when she later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, known as Jay-Z. This person claimed that Harvey Weinstein inserted his fingers into... She believed that she was in Epstein's mansion in Florida. This person estimated that she was abducted on 7 occasions, awaking each time in an indoor setting. She said that she suffered abuse on multiple of those occasions in which Epstein participated. She claims that she recalled Leon Black and William Barr, the current United States Attorney General, being present during some of the occasions of the abuse.
50 Cent responded to Jay-Z's name being in the files and said that he was going to release a documentary on it. If you rewind just a few weeks ago, 50 Cent announced that he was working on part 2 of his Diddy documentary that was going to expose even more names. 300 hours of unreleased footage that directly implicated other names. It's possible that 50 is going to release a documentary that shows exactly how Jay-Z and Diddy were connected to Epstein. It's not a coincidence that Diddy and Epstein were hanging in the same circles, meeting the same people, but somehow just never interacted.
You know 50 Cent was somewhere stretching his fingers like, another post. 50 probably woke up, saw the headlines and said, God is good. 50 Cent jumped on Instagram and posted the article on his page and wrote the caption, I know I'm late on this, but this is kinda crazy. What do you do to get thrown into that mix? Then he posted a picture of Jay-Z and wrote the caption, "Damn, they got my man Jay in the Epstein files. I gotta do a doc on this." Bro, don't tell me you about to do a Jay-Z documentary that's gonna be even more spicier than the Diddy one you dropped. Now, we all know that 50 lives for moments like this. This is like Christmas, Thanksgiving, and tax season combined in one. 50 don't even need facts. He needs content.
Diddy and Epstein's story is way more similar than you think, and both of them might even have been assets for a foreign government. It is highly likely that they were working together, and the only reason Epstein didn't write his name down was because he wasn't going to give up another asset. Suge Knight talked about Diddy working with the federal government. This was one of the reasons that Diddy had so many cameras in his mansion. One tweet about the camera situation at Diddy's mansion summed everything up perfectly. Dropping in to reflect on the hashtag Diddy situation, what I find most interesting about all of these allegations that have come to light is that it is crystal clear that Diddy is a U.S. intelligence asset dedicated to collecting blackmail to be leveraged against powerful people. Similar to both Jeffrey Epstein and Playboy's Hugh Hefner, he allegedly had cameras in the mansions where he threw elaborate Hollywood parties. Now guess, who else had cameras hidden all over his island? Epstein. Footage released in the Epstein files shows hidden cameras that had been placed all over Epstein's home and office, which he was using to record himself and others. Several of Epstein's victims even testified that they were recorded, but just like Diddy's tapes, none of it ever came out. The Diddy tapes and the Epstein video recordings have been consistently denied by the government, even though dozens of accomplices and victims testified that they exist. Allegedly, this footage was being used as blackmail.
Jeffrey Epstein's victims have long said they believe they were being filmed by the sex offender. And this footage from a spy cam style camera inside Epstein's Palm Beach house appears to show just that. The footage has been obtained for the first time by Channel 4 News. Because the quality is so grainy, during our investigation we analysed it frame by frame, and we've slowed it down here so that you can see what's happening. A man, likely Epstein himself, at one point looks towards the hidden device. Images of what seems to be his accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, as well as what appears to be several women or girls. So how do we know what this is and where it comes from? Epstein's Palm Beach property was raided by law enforcement in 2005, where police filmed this footage. Pause it here. You can see his office in the corner of the ground floor living area. This is the exact same office captured in the spy cam footage.
It's not hard to believe that Epstein and Diddy were working together to run a blackmail ring, and their communication would have been about the people they were blackmailing. Just like Diddy, the rumors had been there for years with Epstein too. Nicki Minaj recently tweeted out about Epstein's connection to the entertainment industry and even bashed Jay-Z, saying, "Are y'all understanding that these people have been sacrificing children as a way of gaining and maintaining power? If you ever vote Democrat again, you're just as soulless as they are and will perish." Maybe it's time for me to do some story times, since I was trying to not say what I know. Yet they continue to attempt bullying. Also, I won't be releasing an album until my contract is renegotiated and until I tell you about all the sabotage this Rico is finding out about Billboard. In another tweet, she even laid out the details of what was going on in Hollywood behind the scenes, and it was horrifying.
Here's what Nicki Minaj had to say. She wrote, "Your favorite artist has been practicing rituals in a satanic cult where they take babies from other countries and mutilate and them as a form of blood sacrifice to their god. You see, when your master is Satan, you must constantly shed blood. However, the jig is up." And yeah, she's not the first person in Hollywood to say that. I just don't know how much could be in our face anymore before we wake up and realize these people are ruling over us and they win when we're fighting with each other. That's just the reality. I really don't see how you can have a ton of success in Hollywood and not be in the club, because Hollywood was founded upon this. I just don't really care what you call me. It's time for everyone to wake up.
The worst part is that we've known for years that Jay-Z was involved, but nothing has ever been done. Kanye named both Jay-Z and Pusha T years before the files ever came out and implicated them.
If you take people like Jay-Z and Pusha T, they made their living our people, so how the they gonna stand up for our people? You know what I'm saying? But we forget that because we love Jay-Z's music so much. We love Pusha's music so much, right? But you think they would ever, Beyonce had the best fit for somebody else? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? You think they would ever tell the truth? No, if they told the truth, they didn't go to jail. You know what I'm saying? So you have liars.
Man.
Liars are now the face of our culture.
Jay-Z is only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the people named in the Epstein files, because once you start to read the other names, you realize just how much every billionaire and government official is involved in this. This wasn't even limited to America. The royal family was actually much more implicated than anyone might think. Prince Andrew from the royal family was also named in the latest release. Photographs appearing to show Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor kneeling on all fours over a female lying on the ground have also been included in the latest Epstein files release.
Let's bring in writer and broadcaster Esther Krakow joining us from the UK. Esther, this is a shocker. He is a disgrace. What more can the royal family do? They obviously want him to hide from public sight forever.
Yeah, I think the latest basically series of the Jeffrey Epstein files is kind of what pushed the king over the edge. And I'm sure he's kind of slowly losing his mind because they wish the scandal would go away. But obviously the complete lack of judgment by the Yorkses, so Sarah Ferguson and the prince formerly known as Andrew, has just kind of made this much worse. I mean, I would say this latest entrancement has shown actually the greed of Sarah Ferguson. But on Prince Andrew, there was a picture that is now circulating of him on all fours hovering over a woman that we don't know, that is not moving. And obviously this doesn't necessarily suggest any wrongdoing, but it just shows the kind of the degree of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. And I think the real scandal that people just can't get over is the fact that he actually repeatedly denied having any sort of contact with Jeffrey Epstein after his conviction for pedophilia and and that's clearly proven to be false. Even Sarah Ferguson, in an email exchange a couple of years, I believe, after he was convicted, said that she wanted to be his pet. So clearly this is not someone who had disavowed this man until they actually had a public falling out, I think in 2011, where they severed ties completely.
See, some of these Sarah Ferguson emails are pretty disturbing too. It seems that she's aware at least of the role of girls and beautiful women in all of this. She seems to be encouraging and even offering up people.
Before we move on to the rest of the names, it's important to look at the severity of the allegations being presented and the crimes these names might be involved in. After digging through the files, some people actually discovered that Epstein was stealing babies from women. A 2002 diary entry authored by an Epstein victim alleges that she gave birth to a baby girl at the age of 16 or 17. This woman actually claimed that Epstein was using her to farm babies and that she was forced to get pregnant again and again, with the babies being taken away sometimes and aborted the others.
Jeffrey Epstein had a secret child who was taken from its teenage mother at birth. This according to newly unearthed documents from the investigation into Epstein's crimes. Buried in the latest batch of the Epstein files are claims that Epstein fathered multiple children, including one by a teenager. In an anonymous diary entry, a woman describes how at 16 or 17 years old, she gave birth to a baby who was taken away from her just moments after delivery. Included is a copy of a pregnancy scan dated to 20 weeks gestation. She alleges Ghislaine Maxwell supervised the birth and writes that Epstein told her he wanted to create a superior gene pool. The diary was shared by the woman's lawyers, with federal prosecutors investigating Epstein and Maxwell. The Times was able to confirm the woman's real name, but has chosen to protect her identity. I was not able to verify the woman's claims, and if true, what happened to the newborn. It's never been publicly confirmed that Epstein fathered any children, and there's no mention of any offspring in a will he drew up in the years before his 2019 death in a New York prison cell. But several names in the will have been redacted.
This wasn't even the first time that an allegation of this sort was mentioned. As we peel back the layers on some of Epstein's old interviews, you'll see that Epstein was actually snitching on himself and confessed to doing this. He even justified it, saying that it was okay because he paid the mothers. Details as to what Epstein was actually doing with the babies after taking them away from the mothers haven't been unredacted in the files, but if any of his other crimes are an indication of just how depraved Epstein can be, I don't even want to imagine what was going on. One thing that we do know for certain is that Epstein was trafficking his babies. He was actually charged with human trafficking, and right before his death, he had actually decided to expose all those who were involved with him.
Appears to be some of those videos in these latest releases, and we can play a couple of minutes of that now, in which Epstein discusses being a sex offender.
Is your money dirty money?
If you live,
I just asked a question. Is your money dirty money?
No, it's not. So, in fact,
why is it not dirty money?
Because I earned it, a heart.
But you earned it. We went back to this before. You earned it. You earned it, advising the worst people in the world, right? That do enormous bad things, and just to make more money.
So, instead of asking me the question, should you take the money? Because I think it's a legitimate question.
Do you think it's a legitimate question?
Yes, no question. Because I think ethics is always a complicated subject, but I can tell you that with the money I gave to help try to eradicate polio in Pakistan and India, instead of asking me whether that money should be given to these children for vaccines, I think you might want to ask their mothers who received the vaccine, who know their child now won't get polio, and ask them if Epstein should have helped these people.
So now that we know just how depraved Epstein and the people connected to him were, let's look at the next name that has been making the most waves, Bill Gates. 2 emails from August 18th, 2013 were included in the Epstein release. One email is written as a resignation letter from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and complains about having had to procure medicine for Gates to deal with the consequences of sex with Russian girls. Details of what went on behind the scenes have also been released, and according to sources online, Bill was using Epstein to source women for him. This was actually one of the main reasons that his wife filed for divorce. In an interview with NPR, his ex-wife Melinda said the release of the documents brought up memories of their marital struggles.
Here's Bill Gates responding. Go ahead, Rob.
Knew a lot of very rich people, and he was saying he could get them to give money to global health. You know, in retrospect, that was a dead end, and I was foolish to spend time with him. I was one of many people who regret ever knowing him.
You've no doubt seen the allegations, including some of them in the last 24 to 48 hours. Are they true?
No, apparently Jeffrey wrote an email to himself.
Draft.
That email was never sent. The email is, false. So I don't know what his thinking was there. It just reminds me, every minute I spent with him, I regret and I, apologize that I did that.
The problem is some of the things that he has sent, some of the information about other people that has come up in those files has been true. Why would he do this and say this about you, do you think?
It's factually true that I was only at dinners. I never went to the island. I never met any women. And so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
Unfortunately, some ranking officials within the U.S. government were also involved. Believe it or not, but some people even took their children to meet with Epstein. U.S. Commerce Department Secretary Howard Lutnick brought his family to visit Jeffrey Epstein's private island in 2012, according to emails included in the latest Epstein files release, contradicting previous claims that he had cut ties with him years earlier. In one email from December 2012, Lutnick's wife Allison wrote to Epstein's assistant on what appeared to be the eve of the visit. "We are looking forward to visiting you. And we would love to join you for lunch." During congressional testimony in February 2026, Lutnick confirmed the visit publicly for the first time, saying he spent about an hour on the island, along with his wife, 4 children, and their nannies. He previously said he had cut off contact with Epstein in 2005. Elon Musk, former director of the Department of Government Efficiency and the richest man on the planet, was also involved with Epstein, and in several emails appears to beg Epstein to invite him.
And a top Justice Department official says the review of the Jeffrey Epstein files is over. The same official indicated there would be no new charges. Now the Trump administration is facing backlash from Epstein's survivors and Democrats. This was California Congressman Ro Khanna yesterday.
There is a demand for elite accountability, but the survivors' lawyers that I've talked to have said that the survivors are still upset. They're upset that many of their names accidentally came out without redactions, and they want to make sure the rest of the files come out.
CBS News Justice correspondent Scott MacFarlane joins us from our Washington bureau with more on this. Scott, you've been sifting through as much of this as you can. What's in this so-called final batch?
It's a process. We're still working through millions of pages here, Errol. And it's worth noting these were released more than 40 days after the legal deadline for the Department of Justice to do so. No one besides Epstein and former associate Ghislaine Maxwell has been charged, but the Department of Justice insisting its work is done has only fueled more controversy.
As more documents surface and more people respond, the conversation is shifting from shock value to accountability. And that's where things get interesting. Because being mentioned is one thing, being connected is another. But understanding the system that allowed all of it to happen, that's the real story. If you want updates on 50 Cent's documentary, breakdowns of the latest document releases, and a deeper look at how all these connections fit together, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Drop your thoughts in the comments, coincidence, social overlap, or something bigger.